Here's a tweet I saw this morning, actually a retweet from Scott Adams, who is the creator of Dilbert. And more recently, he has earned a living selling Dilbert calendars and also being a right-wing grifter. He's basically the mirror universe Charles Schultz. If Charles Schultz had been not very talented and not very smart and a fascist, he would have been Scott Adams. But Scott Adams retweets a Twitter account called Clown World, which is one of those big right-wing griftery Twitter accounts. And Clown World is posting a video clip of Kamala Harris. And in the video clip, Kamala Harris says this.
He has lost his privileges and it should be taken down. And the bottom line is that you can't say that you have one rule for Facebook and you have a different rule for Twitter. The same rule has to apply, which is that there has to be a responsibility that is placed on these social media sites to understand their power. They are directly speaking to millions and millions of people without any level of oversight or regulation. And that has to stop.
And the comment that Scott Adams adds to his retweet of this video is, how can this even be real? A candidate for president coming out against free speech, and the race is tied, and then there are several question marks followed by a slash. You know, and I mean, Scott, it looks like he's a member of Twitter Premium, judging by the little icon next to his name. So doesn't he have an edit button? Can he fix, I assume he either wanted another question mark at the end there or an exclamation point, not a slash. But anyway, that's not really important. Whenever I do one of these videos where I'm kind of pivoting off of a tweet or a video of Trump or some Trumper saying something, usually I get comments from some of you who are like, why are you giving them attention? Why are you talking about a tweet? Why not just ignore them? Why not talk about something else? And obviously, the point is not to amplify whatever dipshit wrote the tweet that I'm talking about. The point is to use the tweet as a jumping off point to talk about broader issues and more important issues. And that's what I'm going to try to do here for the next few minutes, because that tweet from Scott Adams raises a couple of issues, a couple of questions that I think are worth exploring. The first one is Scott Adams says, how can this even be real? The presidential candidate coming out against free speech. And then he says, and the race is tied. And he says that with, a implied tone of disbelief. How can the race be tied? I have good news, Scott. It's not tied. Kamala's a little bit ahead. But more importantly than that, he says a candidate for president coming out against free speech. Now let's assume that the video clip that was that's being shared there is being presented in an honest and fair context. I'll come back to that. But let's just assume that it's being presented in an honest and fair context. And what Kamala Harris seems to be saying in that clip as it was retweeted is what she was actually saying. Clown World's original tweet of the video clip says, Kamala will shut down X if she wins. So again, let's treat that as though that is a true statement or an accurate statement or a fair statement. And by the way, X is Twitter, for those of you who don't follow this or don't pay attention. X is what people who have sent in resumes to become one of Elon Musk's footmen call Twitter. The rest of us just call it Twitter still. It sounds a lot like threatening us with a good time, doesn't it? Kamala will shut down Twitter if she wins. Oh no, oh God, anything but that. And I realize I'm a little hypocritical here because I still use Twitter, on a daily basis. So, I'm going to talk shit about it, but I still use it. I'll admit to that. In fact, a few of you may even be seeing this video as a result of finding it through Twitter. Although if my YouTube analytics are accurate, just a few of you. Is it a free speech issue? I don't think it is. I don't think it is a free speech issue. Pay attention to what she says in that video clip. Twitter is a platform where people can speak to millions of people at the same time. And that is both the good thing about it and the bad thing about it. And if people are allowed to get on Twitter and accumulate audiences of potentially millions or tens of millions or even larger numbers of people, and they can just tell those people whatever they want, spread any misinformation they want, is that necessarily a good thing? Is that something that we want? Do we want to be able to empower con artists and manipulators and demagogues in that sort of a way in our society? Doesn't sound like a very good idea to me. Sounds like an abuse of free speech. Sounds like a co-opting of free speech, not what free speech was intended to foster in society in terms of freedom from government oppression and a free exchange of ideas. But all of that, I say, on the assumption that we can take this tweet and retweet at face value, which, of course, we can't. That video clip that I just played you that was retweeted, that was tweeted by Clown World and retweeted by Scott Adams, where, judging from the context that Clown World places it in, where the comment accompanying the video clip says, Kamala will shut down X, Twitter, if she wins, it sounds like, from that setup, that when Kamala is talking in that video clip, she's talking about, when she says she's referring to Elon Musk, and she's talking about shutting down Twitter as a platform completely. But of course, that's not what she's actually talking about. That video clip is from 2019. And she's not talking about Elon Musk or Twitter as a whole platform. Elon Musk did not own Twitter back then. She's talking about Donald Trump. She's talking about Donald Trump's specific Twitter account, and how that should be shut down, and how Donald Trump should not be allowed to mobilize millions of people without any consequence and get them to believe whatever he says and to do whatever he wants. That's what she's talking about. We have a very recent example of how this works. The Arlington National Cemetery debacle, where a member of the staff at Arlington National Cemetery was apparently assaulted in some way by people on Trump's campaign staff when she tried to enforce a rule prohibiting photography and videography in an especially private section of the cemetery. And Trump and his campaign staffers just blew right by and apparently had some kind of physical altercation with this cemetery staff member. And according to the statement released by the United States Army about the incident, the staffer decided not to pursue the matter any further, and it came out later that the main reason why the staffer chose not to pursue the matter and press any charges against Trump or whoever it was that had assaulted her is because she feared retribution from Trump's followers, from Trump's supporters. What is the primary way, and not coincidentally the easiest way, that Trump has and uses to mobilize his followers and his supporters, to rile them up, to sick them on the targets that he chooses? Social media. Twitter. He uses social media to sick his dogs on people. Again, in the virtual world, online, and also in some cases, in person, in real life. So this concern that Kamala Harris is expressing in this 5-year-old video clip was and still is an extremely valid concern about the way Donald Trump uses social media to bully and harass and intimidate people who he views as a threat. But that's not the end of it, because there's an even deeper issue with this tweet that I wanted to talk about. If you go down and scroll through the replies to Scott Adams's retweet of that video that was posted by Clown World, you will see the overwhelming majority of those replies are from people who have accepted it at face value and have interpreted that tweet as Kamala Harris threatening to shut down Twitter and exact some kind of retribution or vengeance or punishment on Elon Musk if she becomes president, which is not what she is saying in that video clip and does not represent anything that she has said while a candidate for president these past couple of months. But there is an overwhelming response of credulous, gullible people under that tweet who are saying she can't shut down Twitter, she can't stop Elon Musk from exercising his free speech, blah, blah, blah. You know, they're taking it at face value because they don't know any better. Now, even if you don't happen to have an instant recall, exact memory of the CNN interview that clip is taken from October 2019. Even if you didn't see that clip and immediately think, oh, that's not recent, that's from CNN in October of 2019. If you've been paying attention these past few months at least, if not longer, you probably knew right away that something was up when I played that clip and when you understood the context in which it was tweeted today. You knew, without even being able to pinpoint exactly what the source of that clip was, that it was not what it was claimed to be. Because you know, as someone who has been paying attention, that presidential candidate Kamala Harris has so far only given one televised interview And yes, it was on CNN, like that clip is from, but it wasn't with Jake Tapper. It was with Dana Bash. And it wasn't alone. It was with her running mate, Governor Tim Walz. And it wasn't in that setting. It wasn't at like a convention or a rally or post-debate, as I believe that clip actually was, with a bunch of people milling around and they're sitting on a stage. It was in a room where the only people on camera were the three of them, were Dana Bash, the journalist, and Tim Walz and Kamala Harris. You knew, because you were an informed voter who paid attention, that this wasn't what it was being set up as. This was not what it was presented to be. The reason they can get away with doing that is because they are counting on the fact that their voters, their supporters, are not informed. Trump himself has said it at rallies to the people he wants to vote from. He has said, I love low information voters.
I love the poorly educated.
Of course he does. He needs them. They're the only people that are going to vote for him, other than like outright willful, knowing fascists. But most of the people who are replying to that, or who cheer for those applause lines at Trump's rallies, or in fact who go to Trump's rallies at all, they're just buffoons. They're marks. They're people who have been sold a bill of goods, and they have accepted it as the truth because they are so incurious and so poorly informed that they don't recognize it as what it is right away. And those are the people that Trump targets, and those are the people that Trump needs, because they're the only people who are susceptible to his act. And it's so important for our side to push against that, to not be that, to use our critical thinking skills, to remain informed, to keep paying attention, because being a high information voter is not a threat to Kamala Harris. Us actually paying attention to her and being critical of her and vetting her and making sure that what her campaign and various other supporting campaigns that are on her side share with us on social media and tell us, making sure that that's all true and that's all fair and that's all accurate, that's not a threat to her. With the Trump campaign, that is the underlying philosophy of the entire campaign. Lie, cheat. I'm not going to finish it. That's an Eddie Guerrero quote. I'm not going to honor Donald Trump by quoting Eddie Guerrero in reference to him. Eddie Guerrero is the one who said, lie, cheat, and steal. I'm not going to do that to him. I'm not going to dishonor his memory by attaching that to Donald Trump. To hell with that. But you know what I'm saying. That's Trump's game plan. Deceive people, manipulate people, feed people misinformation, get people pissed off about stuff that isn't even real. That's Donald Trump's game plan, because you use the tools that you've got. And those are the tools he has. He has no real solutions. He doesn't even usually identify actual problems. Like, he ignores real problems that he could be talking about, but he doesn't, because he really has no solutions to those problems. He talks about imaginary problems, and then he proposes cockamamie solutions to those problems that wouldn't even work if the problems were real, and his followers eat it up, because at the bottom of all of it is grievance and prejudice and bigotry and fascism, and it's all based on lies and distortions and manipulations. We have to be better than that. And that's why it's important to pay attention to tweets like that and to call it out and to be able to articulate what is wrong with that sort of thing. And it really is remarkable when I take another look at this Scott Adams tweet that got me started on this to begin with. There are 3 lines in this tweet. How can this even be real? A candidate for president coming out against free speech, and the race is tied. It's not real. It's taken completely out of context and dishonestly presented. She's not coming out against free speech, no matter how you interpret the video clip, whether you interpret it the way it's being presented or you interpret it in its original context. She's not coming out against free speech. And the race isn't tied. She's ahead. So every single thing that Scott Adams says in this tweet is wrong. Let's be generous and say it's factually incorrect and not go a little bit further and say he's lying. Regardless of his intent. He's wrong. But then again, that shouldn't be a surprise to anyone who knows who Scott Adams is and what his act is. And it shouldn't be a surprise to any of us, provided that we've been paying attention.